What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to the Pee Wee the Plug channel. As always, make sure you hit that like button for me. And if you're new and you enjoy this type of content, make sure you subscribe. I said it in yesterday's video. I'm going to say it again today. This is the place you want to be locked into all postseason long. We'll have daily uploads reviewing every game of the night. Last night, just as good as the first. The first game, Philadelphia versus Miami, was extremely important to me as a Knicks fan. We're trying to figure out who we're going to play. And I won't lie. I was surprised by both teams in two different ways. First and foremost, Miami. I was very impressed with how they competed, how they played. And again, this shouldn't be surprising. This is the Miami Heat, the Heat culture. They always find a way to make things gritty and tough and make you really have to get out of the mud to beat them. But I really thought that the Joel Embiid game was going to be a lot more dominant. That's what I was expecting walking to this game. So with that battle, I felt like Miami had their work cut out for them. And of course, as always, Miami finds a way to, as my boy Derek says, muck the game up. Embiid did not have one of those pretty sexy games that I was expecting. And I saw a lot of other people on my timeline anticipating that type of game. And that just wasn't the case. Miami, they came out, they play hard. And I really was surprised that Embiid didn't have that game because I have notes. Y'all gonna see I'm a note taker when it comes to these reactions post day or post game. But bam, the two fouls in the first 5 minutes. As soon as I saw that second whistle, when it was around, I want to say like the baseline block to the left side of it. When I seen that foul, when Embiid kind of just threw it and fell out, I was like, whoa. I was not expecting them to kind of that's a tough call for everybody involved. Number one, Bam already had one foul. So, of course, him and the Heat didn't want him to pick up his second foul on that play. Number two, it really is a bang-bang call. If you let that one fly, I don't think that's a really big deal. And if you call it, you're not necessarily wrong either. And then, of course, it's like, again, Joel Embiid and the foul stuff, but the first 5 minutes to pick up the two, you're really looking at that situation as, oh, man, Joel Embiid is probably now really about to get going. You get Bam out of the game, who was already undersized. You're putting in Kevin Love, who, I mean, I love Kevin Love, no pun intended, but he's not really at this stage where he's competing with Joel, and nobody is really as far as defending Joel Embiid. But then you bring him in, and what happens is they eventually go to that zone, which I think the zone was brilliant. It not only slowed down Joel Embiid, but it slowed down the entire 76ers offense, and it made them really overthink what they were trying to do. That first quarter remained extremely close. Joel Embiid, I think, went 1 of 4 in that first quarter and really didn't do anything special besides getting to the free throw line and making them pay there. The second quarter was extremely impressive because I believe the second quarter, Jimmy Butler at this point is now a little bit hobbled. And he starts to go on this steal run. Like Jimmy Butler started to get a lot of different steals, and I think he had maybe 1 or 2 in that first quarter as well. And the zone was kind of making everybody a little second guessing everything that was going on for Philadelphia. And they really struggled there. First and foremost, DeLon Wright played every single minute in that second quarter, which was extremely needed for them. Tyler Hero and Jimmy Butler, when combined, 1 of 9 in that second quarter. But Jimmy Butler still found a way to be a plus 12 while getting those 2 steals that I mentioned. The Philadelphia 76ers, they went 6 of 23, 1 of 9 from 3, and they had 4 turnovers in that second quarter, which was, to me, a big swinging factor because, like I said, I thought that first quarter was going to go significantly Philadelphia's way after Bam picked up the second one around the 5 minutes into the game. And when they didn't really have that large separation, it was like, okay. But then you also had the Jimmy Butler thing, which had everybody kind of like holding their breath, not knowing what was going on. And it was very reminiscent of last year's Eastern Conference Finals when Jason Tatum kind of like twisted his ankle. It was kind of like that. Obviously, hindsight, we found out the MCL, that's a way much larger issue than Jason Tatum twisting his ankle. But it was just like, damn, this early in the game, everything on the line, we're getting an injury right now. Also, not to the same degree, but kind of like last night, the other night's game, where Zion put up 40 and gets hurt and has to leave in the final stretch of the game. Again, 2 totally different things because Jimmy did not have the chance to really put his imprint on the game. 3 quarters or 4 quarters through, like Zion. Zion literally had 40. Jimmy didn't have a chance to get his 40 because it happened in the first quarter. But it just sucks that we getting these injuries in these pivotal games. These is win or go home games, and it's happening at the worst time, to be honest. But that second quarter was really vicious, and I think the 76ers scored less than 20. I want to say that they had maybe 17 or 16 points in that second quarter, and they ended the first half with 39 points. 39 points. They go into the half, they're down 12. Miami has 51, they have 39. I'm looking at this game like, oh, okay. Like, I know Philadelphia is going to make a push, but based off the way that they're guarding Joel Embiid, who at this point at halftime, I believe Joel Embiid, I don't have it written down or in front of me, but Joel Embiid is probably 2 of 8. I believe Joel Embiid is 2 of 8 at this point. Majority of his damage is coming from the free throw line. Bam had the 2 fouls. Philadelphia wasn't able to take advantage because of the zone play. Tyler Hero and Jimmy kind of, they're struggling to really get those shots to fall down. But as a team, they're collectively staying in it, and they won at the end of the game. They won almost every significant category as a team. I think they won in bench points. I think they won in points in the paint. They had fewer turnovers, if I'm not mistaken. I think the only thing they lost in was points off turnovers. Points off turnovers, and I want to say maybe Philadelphia shot better from 3 than them over the course of the game. I can't really remember off the top of my brain. Obviously, Philadelphia did a lot of damage at the free throw line. That's always to be expected. But that second quarter had me really thinking that the Miami Heat had a chance, just because Embiid and Maxey up until this point, neither one of them was going for that standout game. Neither one of them was going to have a 30-point performance, a 40-point performance based off how the first half went. And I felt that zone had really given them a lot to handle, and Miami was still finding ways to score the basketball and be competitive without Jimmy Butler or Tyler Hero really getting it going. The one thing that I will say that stood out to me early on in this game, and in hindsight after the game went through, and the Miami Heat fans will probably agree to this because they've seen it all season, I would love to see Nikola Jovic be a little bit more aggressive. I understand he's young. I understand he starts, but he doesn't always play a lot of minutes or finish the game out as much as he plays in the first half. But he seems to be like lack of aggressive. There's a big lack of aggression with him. And again, I'm not saying he needs to be a guy that is going out shooting 18 shots a game. That's not his role for the Miami Heat. But in a time like yesterday, or a game like yesterday, where you kind of see, we're going to talk about a lot of different things, but they didn't have much. And I think those are the games where they're going to lean on him in the future, especially this next game against Chicago, because there is not going to be any Jimmy Butler there. He's going to be out. They're going to really need somebody to lean on outside of Tyler Hero. Because you have no Rozier, Duncan Robinson didn't play. Jaime Jaquez gave you some type of punch off the bench, thank goodness. But Haywood Highsmith, they're not relying on him from that. They'll take it if they can, but that's not really a game plan that you're having. Caleb Martin isn't the offensive threat that you're looking for. That was a cool run last year, but that's just not his role. They're going to look for Nikola Jovic, or they might not. Let me not say that they're going to look for him, but they would love that. That's part of him, of the player that he is, and the mold of him as a guy that should be able to step up in certain moments, because Jimmy's garnering so much attention. Tyler Hero is getting this amount of attention. When Rozier is healthy, he's going to garner a lot of attention. Jovic has to take it among himself to really go after it and say, okay, I am going to take certain shots and I'm going to make them, or I'm going to miss them, but I have to be aggressive. There was just so many times where as soon as he got the basketball, he looked to try to throw it in and throw it to Jimmy, and he's a really good passer. He's a really good rebounder, but he only took 2 shots this entire game. He made both. He had 5 points. I just personally would love to see Nikola Jovic be a tad more aggressive. And I know it's going to progress over his career, but I just think that, and especially in a time like now, the Miami Heat need somebody who can do a little, and he has it. That's why they drafted him. The allure to Nikola Jovic was his offensive profile and what he potentially could be as a complete player, being able to pass, the size, rebound, maybe guard a couple positions, play off the ball. You know what I mean? But you have to be aggressive. You know what I mean? Especially in those type of games where you look at the box score at the halftime, or you look around. Jimmy Butler is playing on one leg. Bam Adebayo's main focus is to do his thing on Joel Embiid. Tyler Hero just had a quarter where he went one of something or 0 of something. First half was real bad for him. And you look around and you should be like, oh shit, this is my time to really try to make something happen. You know what I mean? And I just felt like we didn't get that. Of course, that comes from the youth. Third quarter is the most significant quarter for the 76ers, or really the second half. They looked like an entire different team in the second half. They put up 66 second half points, which is a completely different. We're almost 30 more points than they did in the first half with 39. And the third quarter was Buddy Batum. Buddy Batum is what I'm going to call the third quarter. Buddy Hield and Nicholas Batum combined for 16 points off 4 of 6 shooting from 3, and then 6 of 10 shooting overall. They had a 60% shooting quarter where they combined for 16 points, which was almost more than half the points that the rest of the team scored. Incredible quarter for them. Really did their thing. Again, Jimmy Butler in this third quarter went 2 of 8, and Tyler Hero went 0 of 5. That's a quarter where somebody else has to look around and say, I have to at least be aggressive. I have to at least be a threat. The way that they regard Tyler Hero, they were just making sure that he wasn't going to get going. And obviously Jimmy Butler is playing on one leg. So to really look at Jimmy Butler as like, hey, do something for us, it's such a tough thing. I mean, shout out to Jimmy Butler for sticking through it and being out there and trying to be a threat. But I just feel like a lot of his teammates, they didn't understand that he was basically trying to be a decoy. It was more so like, hey, we still got to get Jimmy the ball. We catch the ball, we just look at where's Jimmy at? Where's Jimmy at? It's like, no. And credit to Tyler Hero, man. A lot of guys aren't built for the type of game that Tyler Hero had, where we already suck as an offense. Our best player, who is supposed to turn into a top 10 player around these times, is now hurt and playing on one leg. Our second best player, he's really a defensive guy. It's always been hard to get him to be aggressive on offense. So I just have to go out here and shoot the ball. I'm missing, but I have no time right now to be sensitive or to be scared or affected by my misses. I have to shoot. If we win this game and I shoot 6 of 24, so be it. And that's the game that Tyler Hero almost had. Tyler Hero kept shooting the basketball, kept shooting after struggling all game. And in that fourth quarter, the last quarter, he had 16 points. 16. They had 30 as a team. He had legitimately more points in that fourth quarter than the rest of his team. Jimmy Butler only took 2 shots in that fourth quarter. Bam only took 1 shot in that first quarter. Hayward Highsmith played the whole fourth quarter. But yeah, Tyler Hero really impressed me by not falling victim to the, I'm missing shots, so I'm going to be passive, or I'm going to second guess everything. And I remember Dirk talking about that when he beat the Miami Heat. He had a really tough game, and that first half, it was brutal. But he kept taking those same shots, And I was watching an interview or like a documentary thing that Brandon Jennings was doing years ago when Brandon Jennings was in the league. And he talked about how vital that was for Dirk to not go into the second half like, that hurts the team more than it helps it. When your job is to score, when your job is to try to get points for the team, you can't afford to have a fragile ego. You can't afford to say, I'm missing shots. And that's always my argument with people who will play the efficiency police game. It's like there are certain players where your job is to do that. That's why when people talk about Kobe and his efficiency, it's like, what else was he supposed to do? Did you want him to give the ball to Smush Parker? You wanted no disrespect to Smush Parker. Did you want Derek Fisher to take 8 extra shots? Did you want the year he played with Kwame? You wanted Kwame to get extra touches? Kobe's job was to score the basketball. And we want him to take as many shots as possible, even if they're bad shots, because some of his bad shots are still more better than a good shot for some of his teammates. That's just, I don't make the rules. That's just the name of the game. And it's a tough role to be in, and it looks easy. It looks nice. I'm seeing Steph Curry do it now. Shout out to Steph Curry. He finds a way to be efficient. But you see how tiring it is. You see how much of a burden it is. You have to take certain shots. You have to. When you're that guy, you have to live and die with certain shots. Steph Curry takes some wild shots, and it's just like, hey, We don't really have that many threats out here. I have to do this. This is my role. This is my job. This is what helps us be in the game. As long as I'm respected, as long as teams know I'm willing to take these shots, I'm willing to make these shots, no matter what, they're always going to have this emphasis on me, and it opens up the game for everybody else. And when I get hot and I get going, I can single-handedly win us a game. Joel Embiid's best quarter came in the fourth quarter, where he had 10 points. He shot 3 of 5. Batum had an additional 8 points. He had 17 points in the second half. Nicholas Batum came out and saved the day for the Philadelphia 76ers, because you look at this overall, Embiid 6 of 17 with 3 turnovers. Maxey 6 of 16 with 3 turnovers. Again, we go into a game like this and you tell me that these guys are going to go 12 for 33 with 6 turnovers. I'm like, wait, huh? Philadelphia, they won like that? Oh, Miami must have had 60 points then. That's instantly my reaction. Miami just could not score at all. The offense was the worst we've ever seen. And like, even how we know how bad and how limited their offense is, it was 5 times worse that day. If you tell me that's going to be the stat line for Embiid and Maxey. And I don't have the stat line for Tobias Harris off the top of my head, but he didn't have no magical game himself. Kelly Oubre didn't have a magical game. It was Nicholas Batum off that bench with 17 second half points, hitting some very, very big shots, some very big threes. And I just believe that this is a game where Miami is going to look back on, even with the Jimmy Butler injury, saying, man, we could have won this game. There was a lot of different ways for them to win this game. That first half, having them only score 39 points, that was the key right there. That was the key. And I truly believe if they could have got, man, just a little bit out of Jimmy Butler before the injury occurred, a little bit more, then we're talking about this game going in a lot different way. The and one for Kelly Oubre in that fourth quarter with about 50 seconds left to go, huge and one. The game was tied at that point. Both teams kind of like not really sure how to get it, how to get that separation, and they just had a play where Kelly Oubre was able to get it in the inside, scored, got the and one, made it. Now you're up 3. Now you're up 3 with less than a minute left to go, and it puts a lot of pressure on Miami. You know what I mean? And Miami is trying to overcome that 3-point lead. And I remember Tyler Hero trying to take the 3, obviously, to tie the game up later in that fourth quarter, and Batum getting that block, and that's the game for you. As a Knicks fan, there's some encouraging things, right? As a Knicks fan, obviously, you can't expect that the entire series we're going to have Embiid and Maxey shooting 6 of 17, 6 of 16. But one thing I will tell you, we're not going to let Nicholas Batum beat us. And I think we're going to have a lot more bodies, and we're going to play a lot more aggressive, and we're going to be a lot more physical, and we're going to have a lot better of an offense than the Miami Heat. And so that game and watching them have to really get it out the mud against the Heat was encouraging for me as a Knicks fan, because I think what Hardenstein, Mitchell Robinson, and Precious Achiuwa, none of them are going to stop Joel Embiid. But that's 18 fouls. That's 18 fouls, man. We gonna get this game real physical. We're gonna get this game real physical. We're gonna throw a lot at them, and I believe Thibodeau is gonna look around and say, hey, if we can take some of that recipe of what the Miami Heat did, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. And I truly believe offensively we have a lot better of an organized situation. OG Anunoby throw his ass on Maxey and Jalen Brunson. I don't think they have an answer for you, brother. Batum guarding Brunson? Maxey guarding Brunson? Who guarding Brunson? DeAnthony Melton? Lord have mercy. We're going to have – Lord have mercy. Again, I'm real confident after watching that game, because I failed to remember that Joel Embiid is still fresh. He's still, working his way through. This isn't that Joel Embiid that was the MVP of the season, right? He's still coming back off that injury, and the Philadelphia 76ers still have big holes on their team. They're a really impressive team. They play well, but I think the best version of this team will come next year when they are able to go into free agency, knowing we're building around Maxey and Embiid. There's no questions. There's no concerns. If this can work, this is the duo. You know what I mean? This is what Philadelphia has been waiting for. Was it Ben and Joel? Would you keep Jimmy? We chose Tobias. You know what I mean? Is it James Harden the missing piece? No, it's Maxey and it's Embiid. And you go into the offseason and you potentially go get Paul George, whatever you need, but you know it's Maxey and it's Embiid. And I think the best version of the Sixers in the Joel Embiid era will be after this year. And this offseason is going to be a very, very pivotal one. Unless they go on to have some playoff run where they beat my Knicks, they beat whoever they play in the second round, and they go to the Eastern Conference Finals. Unless that happens, you know what I mean? Unless this is just a muck it up game against the Heat and they're going to play like a totally different team in this next game, I think this is going to be the most pivotal off season for them to build the best team they've had since getting Joel Embiid. Like I said, though, shout out to Miami. Very, very disappointed that Jimmy Butler got hurt. I know a lot of people think I'm a big Jimmy Butler hater. I like Jimmy Butler. It sucks to see him get hurt. I like the Heat. I like what they're about. And, yeah, I want to see Nikola Jovic get healthy. And the Bulls are going to be a tough team, but it's not out of the question. I still think that when you have Tyler Hero, you have Bam, Jovic is going to have to step up. You have Jaquez. You have some solid pieces off that bench, solid rotation. You go in, you defend, you muck that game up, make it grimy, make it gritty. Bam, you go into that game, guys know they're going to have to step up. Bam won't have as much defensive responsibility because Vucevic isn't a Joel Embiid. Maybe he can step up offensively, knowing that there's no Jimmy. Maybe everybody else comes out more aggressive. I don't know. We'll see. Speaking of the Bulls, though, Bulls-Hawks. Shout out to Chicago. Shout out to the Chicago Bulls, man. They came out. They did their thing. Highly, highly proud of them, the way they performed. It was extremely impressive. The thing that I will say about this game in particular, the Hawks have to make the Hawks have to make a lot of decisions, right? I don't have as much of a breakdown as I did with this last game because this was pathetic. I don't want to even say pathetic, okay? Because I said that about the Warriors. This was sad. The Bulls have not been a great team this year, but they looked great against the Hawks. The way that the Bulls played, I had to catch myself. And y'all, I'm gonna say what I was thinking, and y'all maybe let me know if I'm wrong. I think there may be some validity to it, but listen, Trae Young came out and had 5 turnovers in the first quarter. The Hawks as a team had 5 turnovers in the first quarter. Trae Young had 1 point in the first quarter. The Hawks went 1 of 9. That first quarter started off really well for them, and they was able to keep up with the Bulls. That last 5 minutes, the Bulls really opened it up. They really did. And the Hawks came out. They had a better second quarter. But because of the damage that the Bulls did in that first, the Hawks were never, ever truly, really able to recover. And that's why I believe that, the way you start, obviously starting and finishing the game is the most vital. But, man, if you start the way the Bulls did, I believe it was a 40-24 start after the first quarter. Then they put up another 30 in the second, even though the Hawks outscored them in the second quarter. Just the fact that you were able to still keep up with them, so they wasn't able to erase the deficit completely. And then the Bulls came out in the third and really, really hit them upside the head. And then you go into the fourth quarter with a double-digit lead, and it's just too much for them to overcome. First, for a couple things. DeAndre Hunter, again, I know they have injuries. They're missing Jalen Johnson. They're missing Onyeka Okongwu. They're missing Sadiq Bey. Vic Krejci didn't play in this game. DeAndre Hunter shooting 16 shots is just not it for me. It's just not it. No offense to DeAndre Hunter. I don't think he's a bad player. I more so like the mold of DeAndre Hunter than the player he's been in his career. Again, he's not a bad player at all, but I just think that I am in love with the mold and what he could be, or his prototype coming out of Virginia, and them having Trae Young. It's like, oh, they're going to put these big catch and shoot defensive 3-and-D wings around him with Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter. I was obsessed with that. What he's turned out to be has been in the opposite, where his offense is going up, his defense is going down. He's never really healthy. It's always been tough to keep him healthy. And there's like this potential where it's like, man, but he put it all together, he could be a really good 3-and-D wing with a little bit more offensive capability. He shouldn't be shooting 16 shots. 3 of 16 is crazy. And some of the shots he took, I was like, what? Like he has grown and gotten a lot better as an offensive player. But what what the fuck is that? Like I no. No, 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 no. So I think they have a lot to do. A lot of people are saying who do they trade? I'm thinking you maybe trade both. You maybe trade both. You maybe trade both DeJounte and Trae Young. Um, maybe you start completely fresh. Maybe Jalen Johnson is now the face of that team, and you're just trying to have fun, get up and down. But I don't really know if this team can do quick fixes. Quinn Snyder, he went in there. We all thought that he would be able to turn it around. Mm-mm. Alex Caruso really made it tough for Trae Young. Trae Young already dealing with the little hand issue that he's coming back from, but I ain't gonna lie, Caruso was on him. He hounded him. Caruso had him giving up the ball early. He forced him to have a lot of turnovers, and it's just a certain way that Trae Young plays. It's very exciting at times. It can generate some big performances, and he can play basketball. Trae Young is nowhere near a bad basketball player at all. The thing that Trae Young and whoever is going to coach him and be putting a team around him, they have to figure out what is a style of basketball we can play that goes to his strengths, but also it also can strengthen the entire team. But him and DeJounte, like they did all season yesterday, they did this back and forth thing where Trae Young tried to do some shit for a couple possessions. It didn't go well. He had some missed shots. He had a turnover, and now he's kind of it's like this guilty thing where it's like, oh shit, let me get you the rock so we can see what you do because I fucked up. So now I'm gonna let you do your thing. And then DeJounte started making some shots. Team was kind of starting to flow better. Caruso also wasn't hounding him and hounding Trae Young. And then it's like Caruso went out of the game. And then it's like Trae Young is starting to trying to get his shit back going. And we just got to take turns and take turns and take turns. And that shit don't work. That shit does not work, man. That shit does not work. DeJounte played really well. He tried to backpack them. He had another really, really good game. And he showed why he could be a nice added piece for some teams. And one of my guys that I've built an online relationship with, his name is Huge Gas. It's a joke to say huge ass, right? But he's a big time Pelicans fan. And the reason me and him have kind of been able to cultivate a relationship where we speak often, or I won't say often, but anytime something's going on with the Pelicans, he hits me up. I always respond. You know what I mean? I try to respond as much as I can, but we communicate. And it's because he's a fan and he's a big fan and he's biased in reasonable times. Every fan is going to be biased in certain moments, but when it's time to turn the bias stuff off and just be an intellectual fan and an informative fan, he does a huge job at that. And I've seen the efforts that he puts in to be a fan of his team, and I respect it. And because of that, you know what I mean, I gravitated to getting information about the Pelicans or his opinion on different things. And one of the trades he talked about was maybe DeJounte Murray for Brandon Ingram, something that we brought up on our podcast at Numbers on the Board, a trade that I brought up months ago around the deadline because I've just been a guy who's seen the writing on the wall. Even when Pelican fans didn't like me saying it, they took offense to it. It just feels like Brandon Ingram is going to be the odd guy out. And because he's on that last year of his deal entering next year, again, it just kind of felt like unless the Pelicans put everything together, he would be the odd man out. I don't think that they're trading Trey Murphy III. He has way too much value, especially on that contract. Doesn't seem like they're going to trade Zion Williamson unless they absolutely have to. They don't have to right now. So Brandon Ingram seems like the odd man out. And he was talking about the DeJounte swap for Brandon Ingram, and he was saying at first he didn't really like it. But after watching their playing game, and I'm sure he was doubled down on it after last night's Hawks game, DeJounte would probably do a lot of justice for the Pelicans. He give them a real point guard, and you know what I mean? I think things would be able to flow better. Some of that production that you lose from Brandon Ingram, DeJounte Murray can easily do that. Trey Murphy can easily fill that wing void. And you may be going to there having a lineup where it's DeJounte, CJ, Trey, Zion, and however you want to fill out that center position. I don't know what's going to happen with Valanciunas. And I kind of like that, and I get it. And I think having I'm sorry. That wouldn't be the lineup. Maybe Trey Murphy stays off the bench because I forgot about Herb Jones, which goes to the point. I think DeJounte would even be a better defender as well with a Herb Jones next to him in a defensive culture with the Pelicans, who have been a really good standout defense all year long, you may be able to get DeJounte to buy in back in onto the defensive side of the basketball without as much expectation. You know what I mean? Because you have Herb Jones, he's your lockdown defender. You can put DeJounte on a secondary guy or a third op, whatever. And I think the expectation goes down from DeJounte being an all defensive guy. But I'm kind of liking that swap too, man. I'm kind of liking that swap too. And also with Trae Young, I don't know if the Pelicans want Trae Young, but like Trae Young, I really want to see him with somebody who's an interior monster. I want to see him with an interior threat. We've seen a little bit with it with like Capella, how that pick and roll game can be and how dangerous that can be, and Jalen Johnson. But like Trae Young would have maybe been a better fit in Milwaukee. And I don't want to say this because Dame just having a tough season. But Giannis and Trae, the way Trae Young passes with the pick and roll and all of that, I don't know if he plays off ball as good as Dame. He doesn't. But he needs to play with somebody who's an interior threat. I don't really want to see him in a backcourt with somebody like DeJounte where they're taking turns. It would be nice to see him around some defense and somebody who can really make teams pay inside, like Zion. You know what I mean? If you put, that's why I was saying the Pelicans, you put him out there with Herb Jones on the perimeter, Trey Murphy can guard, Zion, you put him around some size, some shooting, in a duo. His duo partner is somebody who likes to go downhill and score on the inside, and he can just have that perimeter, and they can have that two-man game, kind of how Maxey is with Philadelphia. It would be nice. I just think that the Hawks play a little bit of predictable basketball around Trae Young, and I think him and DeJounte with the taking turns shit is just not a healthy method. On the flip side, to give the Bulls some credit, Kobe White, absolutely phenomenal, 40-point performance. I think the hidden thing in his performance is how well DeRozan played. DeRozan played like extremely well, and I think this could be a sign for the Bulls for their future. I think looking at a game like last night, and depending on how they play against Miami, my thought process with the Bulls is a lot different. And hear me out. And this is where I say y'all might disagree. I may be sipping the Kool-Aid a little bit, or I might make some points. I believe the Bulls aren't as bad as they are. It's a couple things. The Bulls have to let go of some things, and they have to buy into some things. Number one, the first thing that they have to let go of, I don't believe that Zach LaVine fits this team. Zach LaVine is a wonderful basketball player. He's one of my favorites. Y'all know that. That's no secret. He can score. He's electrifying. He's exciting. But the way that they played last night should be the way that they try to identify themselves as a team, where they play hard, they play aggressive, they play gritty, they're bought in defensively. You have Caruso out there being a menace. You got Ayo out there. He's willing to hustle. You got guys diving for loose balls. You got guys trying to make the extra play, get extra possessions. You got Drummond out there rebounding his ass off. You got Dalen Terry. He didn't do much offensively, but he had effort plays. They need to buy into that. They need to buy into the effort. For a long time, they had a three-headed monster in DeRozan, LaVine, and Vucevic. Those aren't dirty work players who are willing to make those dirty work plays to win you games. Ayo fits that bill. Caruso fits that bill. There's somebody, Drummond kind of fits that build a little bit. There's somebody else that I really feel like I'm forgetting who fits that bill as well. Kobe White and DeRozan can play off of each other. Kobe White last night showed us he can fill that void of what LaVine gives you as an offensive player. Except I think Kobe White is a little bit more of a willing passer. I think he can play off DeRozan a lot better as a spot-up guy. I think he can also go out there and get his shot. Because Kobe White has been prone and kind of developed to play off of guys, I think that's a part of his game that's a little bit better than Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine can do it as well, but Zach LaVine has also been programmed and developed to be that guy. Kobe White is being pushed to be that guy, but because of his development, when DeRozan is making plays and doing his thing in the mid-range and you got to kick it out, Kobe White can be effective just like that as well. Then you give the ball to Kobe White, let him make a play off the dribble, pick and roll, get into that line. He can be effective there. And I think Ayo and that backcourt with him in certain parts of the game, He just went out there and made extra plays. Io was spotting up. Io was fighting. Io was defending. Io was getting loose balls. He's diving on the floor. He's in the trenches. These are all things that I think are the opposite of Zach LaVine. I think Zach LaVine is a Hollywood scorer, exciting player who isn't really going to get in the trenches. And it's not a knock on him because, like I said, that's my boy. But I think this is the type of team that they should be buying into. The Bulls should not try to buy into this sexy, we have a big three scoring trio. Vucevic is going to score. DeRozan is going to score. Zach is going to score. No, we are gritty. Caruso going to get after you. Io is going to get after you. DeRozan going to do his shit in a way that ain't the sexiest, exciting. Kobe White going to fire off. And Drummond going to crash some glass. Vucevic, we need some consistency out of you, but he has no problem getting down there and rebounding the basketball either. And when he's bought in and like engaged, he can do his thing as well and be a really solid on the defensive side of the basketball. He just has to stay engaged, man. Just stay engaged. All he has to really do is try. That's all he really has to do is try. And this Bulls team look completely different. And I think they should buy into that in this offseason where you go out and you draft a center, whether that's Klingon. I don't know if he's going to be available for you, whether that's Deron Holmes from Dayton. You go out, you get you a big, and you buy into this gritty style of basketball, and you lean offensively on Kobe White and DeMar DeRozan because both of those guys are willing passers who can also play off of each other because DeRozan does his shit in the mid-range. He has you down the stretch. Kobe White can have you down the stretch. He can take over a quarter like he did in last night's fourth quarter with 14 points. He can hit the threes and space out the floor. They need more of that. They need to buy into that times 30. That is your identity. You are a muck it up, in the trenches, aggressive, play hard team. And Caruso, his injury is devastating as well. But you buy into that. And you kind of let Caruso be the heart and soul. Caruso is your heart and soul, and you buy all the way into that energy and that dog, and you take that underdog mentality. And I think this team could be just a little bit better, because they look like a completely different team last night. You got Javonte Green. He came out and played 22 minutes. I had to pull this up. Guys like that. I mean, Javon only played 1 minute last night, but Javon fits that mentality. You have guys out here that have this dog, we gonna fight type mindset, and y'all should buy into it, man. They should buy into it. They really should. Javonte Green came out and gave you 10.6 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal. Just all off fight. Just fight. Javonte Green does not have no crazy out of this world skill set. He just had fight. Let's get it type mentality. Same thing with Io. Io is obviously a lot more skilled than Javonte Green, but 19 points, 3 assists. He got 1 rebound. He got 2 blocks. Io went and got you 2 blocks. He had 5 fouls. He hacking. He playing hard. And again, Caruso, unfortunately, the foot sprain, that shit, again, these injuries is just sucking. But DeRozan, 22 points, 9 assists, 6 rebounds, a steal in a block. Vucevic came out and gave you 24 and 12, 2 assists. And then Kobe White, 42 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals. Drummond came in and gave you some rebounds. And yeah, man, I think that's more your culture. Even with the Patrick Williams is not a bad player, but it's just like he also has this Zach LaVine thing where he's kind of smooth and like, no, you need guys that are 24/7. We just and when they play like that, they can have nights like this, and they can make the playoffs. They have a huge chance and huge shot at making the playoffs with the Jimmy Butler injury. But they also lost Caruso. They're going to need somebody to have that dog mentality to set the tone for them. If they come out against the Heat tomorrow and they try to play that cute boy basketball shit, they're not going to win because Miami is about to come gritty, grimy, and ready to fight. The Bulls have to come with that bite as well out of the gate. I don't who has that bite for them when Caruso is gone. I don't fucking know. Maybe it has to be Io. But I'm telling you, they're not going to win it by trying to be a sexy, cute team. That's just not we've seen the Bulls do that. That's not y'all. That's not y'all. Y'all need to buy into that type of mentality that Caruso has. Let him be the heart and soul, Draymond Green in a different extent. and everybody else feed off of it. And when you go into the free agency and you go into off season and you're trying to figure out how to move Zach LaVine, don't worry about getting no all-star back. Get guys that fit that. You got Kobe White. He can replace Zach LaVine with his scoring point. We've seen that. DeMar DeRozan is going to get you some buckets. You need that other mentality. That's what they've been missing. That's why when they have Zach, they struggle because they have now 3 guys who have a certain mentality that isn't. You got 3 guys that ain't doing the dirty work shit in your starting lineup on an everyday basis. Take that shit out. Have 2 guys like that, and the other 3 monsters who are willing to. You feel me? So shout out to the Chicago Bulls. And that's my TED talk on last night's games. I really don't know what this last game is gonna come down to because Caruso is that's big for them to lose Caruso. Obviously, the Heat losing Jimmy Butler is a lot more bigger, but DeMar DeRozan, Kobe White, they can win that game. Kobe White played 43 minutes. DeMar played 44. Ayo played 40. They can win this game. They can win. We'll have another update tomorrow about the game tonight, which is the Pelicans and the Kings. And then Friday's games tomorrow, the Bulls versus Heat. You'll probably have that on Saturday. So make sure, again, you're locked in on this channel. I am Pee Wee the Plug. This is a Pee Wee the Plug channel. We're here all playoffs long, baby. And go Knicks. Knicks in 5. We'll talk about that at some point. Knicks in 5, though.